Rosanna here, I was going to talk about citationality in the digital age because I think this group, it was incredibly helpful to talk about the ways in which ChatGPT, in particular, that instance where students are using quite heavily for paraphrasing, but also that citations and how they serve as an acknowledgement of intellectual labor and a mode of accountability, and that the use of AI is upending sort of all the ethical considerations and how prior work is cited, but also that in what Lisa was just saying, that the sort of normalized paraphrasing at scale. And I know that has been casting this long shadow about how we're assigning reading and how we're also assessing writing. And if I may, CJ, it was actually something that you said in one of our earliest meetings in which you shared the story of assigning a text with many, many pages describing fog. And that to paraphrase is not the point. That how much we lose when paraphrasing is becoming this heavy reliance in the way that our students are constructing knowledge. So if we can go to the first slide, because I think it is important to talk about the hallmarks of AI-based citation issues in our group. I'm delighted to say we were not taking the gotcha approach to talk about AI. We quickly moved beyond that. But I think that it is something, and maybe even a call to action, to really acknowledge how professors are assessing citations that don't exist. So phantom citations being one of the hallmark citation issue, where source misattribution, and this is just an example where a footnote was called out in specific cases. If I could go to the next slide. That one is finding oneself as faculty members scrutinizing these footnotes, and the way we want to keep the highest regard for our students, and yet patterns like this, I think, really makes us upend the good faith that we have in our students and how hard those conversations are. I would love to advocate is if it makes sense in one of our February 12th or March 12th sessions to talk about what it means to hold in community of how hard this is for faculty to assess students' work when we see these types of examples. But if we go to the next slide, I think what is exciting about this as we're teaching is that finding these phantom citations is time consuming, it's punitive, and it does not help students learn. And that this is a teachable moment that we can guide them towards citation practices. And then certainly like Chicago Manual of Style is what we ask our students to use. And that in best practices, in addition to citations, we are trying to move our students who are documenting the AI prompts that they use and include the resulting generated text as an appendix. And I think that also connects to the sort of full scope of being aware of process as well as the product. If we go to the last, the one that I had. And this is just an example. I think that my colleagues and I are trying to get more up to date in the ways that Chicago Manual of Style, for instance, is setting forth guidelines in citations, and that ChatGPT or other tools do need to be credited. They need to be explicit in how they've generated students' work, and that they can be acknowledged as a tool and used as a tool in the text. But a formal citation does require a footnote, and then, as I described, also an appendix. But this is all still very much very new for faculty to teach about, and I know that the struggles are often very silent and very isolating. So I'm thrilled that this group has helped convene a way of sharing these.
So thank you all. And just as a follow-up on what Rosanna was just talking about, the professional disciplinary organizations, their websites typically have now guidance specifically on the question of citation. So Modern Language Association is actually has specific directions about what's appropriate about how to cite your use of and what you're getting, material you're getting from generative AI in your material. And this is also guidance that you'll find in some of the advice that we get from the Office of Learning Excellence and Innovation, is that you can say there are appropriate uses, but if you use it, you have to document it, you have to submit and document your interactions with the prompts, and etc. So there are ways to handle this, right? That you can't, so that you get past the block of simply having someone present a generated paper. But anyway, we all need to, we're continuing to work on the question of like, if you are citing it, what are the logistics and challenges of actually evaluating what they turn in? At this point, what we have presented to you sort of some of the four main areas that we identified and recommended for development of learning materials and resources that could support faculty and student literacy. And we were sort of identifying the lower lying fruit on the tree, but with the understanding that, right, there's a lot. This is an open world here, and we're all just learning about it. And so there's a lot of work and conversation that's necessary